huge. This video contains spoilers up to episode 22 of campaign 3 of Critical Role. Hello everybody, my name is Luna and welcome to Crit Role Conspiracies, the show where we talk about all the wild and wacky theories that critics have about campaign 3 of Critical Role. We had huge revelations today about everybody's favorite punk rock, not punk rocker, just punk rock. Is that a good joke? I don't know. Today's video is sponsored by the Gallant Goblin. It is your last chance to back the Kickstarter for these cuties. More on that later. So we pick up the episode in Drusar, but we get a little bit of a rewind moment as FCG observes Imogen sleeping. They're curious about what's going on with Imogen, obviously picking up on a lot of signs that there is some strange behavior, so they observe Imogen sleeping and note that she is sleeping with her hand in her...
My hand is in... You notice I've been sleeping with my hand in my...
pants?
In my pants. No, in my side pouch, in like... It's not my pocket, but it's a side pouch that's on my
like
clothes.
in it, on it, around it?
Like my hand is in...
It's a false pocket.
That area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And FCG notices that when she's having troubled dreams, when she's kind of fidgeting in her sleep or seems unsettled, that her hand closes around whatever's in her pocket and that she is comforted, that her sleep is eased. What is this Nalrog? This has got to be some kind of cursed item, right? Like, she must be attuned to it if she's sleeping, holding onto it. I'm so happy that FCG is kind of probing this and picking up on it because I'm hoping we're going to find out really soon what that means, and I'm scared. I'm scared for our girl Imogen. They get some rooms at the Spire by Fire, and Chetney acts weird about Fern again. I feel like we need a little tally for how often that happens. You know what? Let's start one. Let's kick it off from now. Let's do it. They think about writing a letter to the patron of the verdict, which was the rival party in the heist, but then decide not to because it might come across as too passive aggressive because, you know, tone gets lost in written text. Something that happens all the time on the internet. While everyone's bunked down for the night, Chetney insists on still having watches even though they're here in this inn, so they take turns, and on Fern's watch, she decides to have a little bit of a closer look at Ashton's head. Anytime characters make choices like this, I am just ecstatically happy. I'm like, yes, please. Please look at the thing we all want to know about. So Fern looks inside Ashton's head under the sort of that glassy substance that makes up part of his skull, and she sees within there these kind of dancing purple motes or lights and little red sparks as well. And as she kind of traces her finger along the head, those motes and those sparks sort of follow, just like those orbs that you used to see a lot. I feel like they were around a lot when I was a kid, that you would put your hand on it and all the like electricity would kind of try to reach your hand. Is that what it is? I don't know how it works, but that's what it felt like anyway. And Ashton has a dreaming about memories of holding an adult's hand, or at least I assume in the way that it was described that they looked up at this grown-up, of wandering through the Hellcatch Valley, trying to avoid brigands and stay out of trouble.
And to that point too, flashes of the climactic break-in that set this strange path, flashing to that crate again. The last thing you remember from that failed burglary, reaching into it, and then a striking white coloration. The sound like a thunder crack, but echoing into 1,000 echoes from all different directions. In one moment, you are 1,000 pieces, and then back to one.
And waking up with Milo standing over them. Ooh. Of course, we get a lot more info about this particular set of memories later, so we're going to come back to that. The next day, the party head to Gianna Hexam's house to receive payment for the heist. When they arrive, she is taking a violin lesson. She is taking a violin lesson from someone called Dina Vesher, and catch me like immediately. Anytime there's a new character introduced, I'm like, oh, tab, Critical Role wiki. But no, unfortunately, I couldn't find anything about this name. This seems to be a new character. Anytime there's someone like kind of mysterious, I get a bit excited. I absolutely love how Matt is portraying Gianna. Like, I don't trust her one little bit. The party's distrust of her, I think, is well-founded, but I just love her. I really hope she is going to be a regular part of the campaign because...
Indeed. Oh, this is delicious.
I knew you would.
This will send ripples through our circles, yes, yes.
She just seems like a lot of fun. It's just great. It's my jam. They get paid 500 gold pieces each, except for Ashton, who instead of that has their debt to Gianna wiped clean, which is a pretty big deal. That was kind of a big driving factor for Ashton for a long time. It's paying off this debt. So I'm curious to see what they're going to be like now that that's happened. Good on you, Ashton, living that debt-free life. That would be so nice. And plus, as a bonus, I suppose, for thoroughly humiliating Evan by rifling through his possessions and stealing a bunch of his stuff, she also gives the party a beautiful ruby, which she thinks they could sell for about 1,000 gold pieces. They do show her those notes that they stole from his office or his bedroom, I think it was, that needed the Ray of Frost cantrip or something that would make them really cold to reveal them. And she's very pleased to see this. So she now knows that Evan has been spying on her, and in particular, spying on her shipments. I'm a little concerned for the party with regard to this, because as we'll find out a bit later, these shipments are of great importance and great significance. Gianna might not want them wandering around with that piece of information. I don't know. I'm just feeling a little paranoid about it. Oh, also Fern reminds Gianna that she wanted one of the statues that would change its appearance based on who was looking at it. And she says, well, if you can pick it up and take it, you can have it. So most of the party goes and tries to pick up this giant statue. But in the meantime, Gianna requests an audience with FCG. People are not really into this, and Ashton asks if they can stay, to which she agrees. So at least Ashton is there, which is nice. Gianna is thoroughly fascinated by FCG, as is the case for most NPCs that we've seen upon meeting him. She asks where FCG is from and who made him, and he explains about Dancer and about his kind of group of companions called the Division of Public Benefit, and Gianna is kind of like manhandling him. She's like holding his face and like looking at him, and he doesn't like that. He sets down some boundaries. This is great character development for FCG. He's like, that is not how you treat people. I don't deserve to be treated that way. And he also mentions that he thinks the automatons around Marquette are being mistreated, that they are given menial jobs and that they're not taken well care of, and that people should give them a little bit more consideration. I think we're seeing a real self-awareness develop for FCG, because if you remember, it wasn't really that long ago in those first early episodes, FCG was very much of the opinion that like, I'm not like you, I don't have a soul, I exist to help people, that is my main purpose. And now we're seeing like, no, I am actually a person who is worth something, and I should be treated with respect, and I am able to put down those boundaries. And I think it's a great reminder for all of us, we can all stand to learn a little bit from FCG. Then I loved this next moment because Sam 100% knew what he was setting up, but it was so great. FCG inadvertently asks Gianna out on a date. To my great disappointment, she declines. I really want to know what a date between those two would look like. Gianna asks FCG and Ashton that if they're going to be investigating automatons and investigating who made FCG or how, that they let her know of anything that they find out, which they agree to do, or FCG agrees to do so, but later sort of says, I don't know if I really want to do that because she doesn't seem like a person who I want to give that kind of info to. Then we finish up this meeting with the best burn. Such good delivery.
I guess I'm starting to learn that just because you have a soul doesn't mean you know how to use it too good.
She blinks slowly.
Before they leave Hexa Manor, Ashton notices a crate under one of the tables, a similar crate to the one they remember opening on the break-in that they did of this manor, and it kind of triggers, I guess, a little bit more of those memories come flooding back, and also a little bit more curiosity on Ashton's part, because so far Ashton has been fairly incurious about that event, and I think now we're seeing, because of all these different connections and all these different things, and also other people saying like, what happened? This is kind of important, that they're sort of starting to think more about it than they did in the past. And also Ashton picks up the statue and just hoists it out of there like the big strong rock person they are. They take a little gondola ride, and Ashton is very suspicious and very paranoid about leaving the Hexa Manor and asks FCG to cast Detect Magic to find out if Hexam has put any kind of... Sorry, I just realized I keep referring to either Gianna or Hexam. I really should I should pick a consistency. Let's go with Gianna. To find out if Gianna has placed any charms or enchantments on them, or if there's any kind of like surveillance happening. And I was like, yes, smart, because I don't trust her either, and I think... yeah, that was just very clever. Luckily, they don't find anything, but I think it's just worthwhile remembering she doesn't have their best interests at heart. They need to look out for themselves. While they're on the gondola, FCG talks a little bit more about their history, confirming again that they are 4 years old, specifically stating like, in days, I am 4 years old. And says that the Division of Public Benefit was paid by the Raya family to clear out the silver mines, and that after they didn't return, Ashton was sent to find out what happened about a week later. This feels very fishy to me, because if you send a group of people, a group of adventuring people who are, supposedly up to the task to complete something and then they fail, why are you sending in one person? Why are you just sending in Ashton? Unless there were other people there that Ashton hasn't mentioned, it just seems strange to me. And he's not even like a roguish character that could maybe sneak in and find out what happened and then sneak out. Like, he is a smashy, hitty kind of a character. So I don't know, something about it doesn't feel right to me. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Lordna / Marisha theorizes that maybe FCG's body is inert or dead, I think is the term she uses, and that a soul has been put into that body, like somebody else's soul. And then promptly Chetney steals that theory and presents it as his own.
Person. And now their soul has been transferred inside of you, but you can't remember.
But maybe she wants to transfer consciousness into something that'll never fade.
You could do that?
I don't know. How do you exist?
Doesn't really strike
You
me
think
as...
I'm the consciousness of a dead person?
I just said that.
But
I took her idea. I made it my own. I stole your shit, and you took it because I can't.
Genius, Chetney.
But hey, maybe Lordna stole her theory from my comments section. If I found out Marisha watched these episodes, I would literally die. But the reason I say that is because lots of you have had the same theory since the beginning of FCG on the show. This theory that a soul has been taken and put inside FCG's body, and that eventually we're going to see an emergence of this soul maybe, or like a conflict between FCG and the soul that is inhabiting the body. Yeah. We arrive back at Lord Estros's house, and he is training with a scythe, which is super cool. I feel like we don't see scythes often enough in D&D. And Imogen Fernum immediately gets super thirsty.
You train with all of the weapons in here, or...
Depends on the day of the week. It is important to be ready for anything.
Sir.
Come,
How old are
walk
you?
with me.
Just for reference.
Estros shares with the group that Lady Emoth has been interrogated, and that Armand Treshy has been pointed out as being the main kind of ringleader of this conspiracy. Orlana Seshadri, who is the person who hired the Green Seekers to investigate all of this stuff, is heading up the investigation, and Treshy has fled town. He is out of here, and he's been smuggled out of the city and is on his way to Bassaras. Oh, and the reason that Estros knows that that's where Treshy is heading is because of the ring that the party swapped at the ball. Oh, that just gave me flashbacks to just how stressful that whole scene was. The party decide that they are keen to help hunt down Treshy, that they want to tie up this loose end, so they're going to head to Bassaras on Estros's skyship. He also gives them a crystal ball that they can use to pinpoint Treshy's location once they're within a few miles, so hopefully making it a little bit easier for them to track him down. Now, Bassaras is the home of the Paragon's Call, the kind of like mercenary group that has been kind of in the city and that Treshy's been working with, so he's probably going to them for a little bit of protection. But also, this is where Ashton grew up. This is where the Greymore State Home is, which is essentially, I suppose, like an orphanage or a foster center. Plus, FCG was made in Bassaras. So this is going to be a super important location, and hopefully we're going to learn lots of really cool details. Something that I want to point out here is that we still don't really know what happened to the Shade Mother. We know that the wardens were going to take care of it, but we still don't know the results of that. I think we probably would have heard if it was still out there, still kind of like kicking around in the mines, but I really just want confirmation that it's been dealt with, because that thing, no, it needs to go. Then in such a good moment, Estros produces a letter from Vexalia de Rolo, and we get to hear Laura play Vex again as she reads out this letter. I loved how she was so torn about if she should do Vex's voice or if she should do Imogen's voice.
I am ever appreciative for delivering our friend across the sea to us for proper remembrance and burial. We are deeply saddened at Bertrand's passing, and thank you for being compatriots of his until his honored end. He was a man of deep integrity, courageous heart, and boundless generosity. You have my gratitude, and the gratitude of the entire Chamber of Whitestone, darling. Vexalia de Rolo. Lady Vexolia de Rolo, Baroness of the First House of Whitestone, Grand Mistress of the Grey Hunt, Coin Mistress of the Council of Taldore. That sounds pretty impressive, actually, that entire...
She sounds loaded.
The party also gets a new map. Yay! I love a new map. Probably means we're getting some map merch in the store soon, which would be pretty cool. And Estros says that they can take his skyship to Eos in about a month or so. So it's going to be a month of in-game time before we can learn probably much more about Ruidus and the Loomis twins. And that means we're probably going to be waiting a long time in real life for them to get to that. I'll wait, I suppose, if I must. There are just 6 days left to back the Kobold plushie Kickstarter from the Gallant Goblin. You do not want to miss out. These things are so cute. Not only can you choose from a variety of colors and classes, you can change out some of their clothing and their gear. You can also get your hands on STL files as an add-on to the Kickstarter so that you can print a mini of your very own kobold and you can play that adventurer in your game with your plushie sitting right next to you. Plus there are free virtual tabletop tokens, an add-on sticker sheet, pins, campaign coins. There are so many goodies to check out, so make sure you go to koboldplush.com. I am going to go and get another one for myself because my 5-year-old has claimed this one. Go and get yourself a cutie today. So cute. Next, the party heads to Dial Hall to meet with Ajit Dial, who is the man that Gurge told Chetney to look for who could help him meet up with the Gorgonai.
There's a bunch of warriors who use chemocraft, a sort of blood-based arcana that you can harness your own life essence to smite your enemies, if you will. One sect of these hunters was known as the Gorgonai. Apparently they've learned to harness this curse that I acquired in Wildmount, so I was told to go seek them out before I went absolutely wild and started murdering everyone around me as a crazed wolfman.
We learn that Ajit met Gurge and the Gorgonai when the Gorgonai saved his family from some jungle beasts. In fact, it seems to be the same jungle plant thing that the party fought a few episodes ago that had the kind of carnivorous plant. And through this encounter, they formed a bit of a relationship, and Ajit has been trying to help the Gorgonai when possible, and I think a little bit of vice versa as well. Ajit mentions that he can help Chetney with his condition if he wants to, and Chetney seemed a little bit taken aback and a little bit thrown, and I think we definitely saw a bit of Travis peeking through there, being like, oh, no. I'm quite happy being a werewolf, thank you. I don't think we're going to see Travis giving up being a werewolf anytime soon. Ajit explains that if Gurge wanted to contact the Gorgonai, that he would leave the city, kind of go out to an area and howl at the moon as loud as possible, and that because the Gorgonai have like great hearing, they would come and find him that way. So that is a way for Chetney to contact them as well. Next, the party visit Marwa's magic shop, which, yay, I'm happy because I love Marwa and I really want to see more of her. And to Laudna's great delight, we learn that Marwa has a pet rat called Jay. Bit of a Jay and Pate romance, anybody? Also, Jay is the traveler. She has a few magic items for sale. She has a horn of silent alarm, which you can think of a person and blow the horn and only that person will hear it. There's also the butcher's bib, which is a truly horrifying and disgusting item. It is from the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount.
It's a murder apron. It's a murder apron. I do know.
Does it smell like iron?
Yeah.
Oh. It's blood. Is it blood?
I've cleaned it twice. That's the weird thing.
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah, right? Again, yeah.
Oh, God.
She suggests selling it for 350 gold, but she ends up tossing it in when they buy the other thing, which is the portable hole. This one, they buy it for 1,500 gold pieces, so it is a pretty pricey item. I think it's the first big investment that they're making as a group, and so she throws in the butcher's bib with that. I don't know who's gonna wear that butcher's bib. I don't know if I want anyone to wear it. It just sounds super gross. And lastly, Ashton buys some healing potions and some powdered silver for FCG to use as spell components. That little shopping excursion done, the party head to the Crook House. FCG asks if Milo can make a propeller for them, which I think is so funny, and I just can't get the image out of my mind. Like, I understand it is an attachment that goes on their arm, but all I can think about is FCG wearing a little cap with like a little propeller hat on it. It's just really cute. So as I said, Ashton is showing a little bit more curiosity about the incident at the Hexham Manor and what happened. And they ask Milo for some more details about what happened. Milo says that they weren't given anything specific to steal, that they were just supposed to do like a smash and grab, just roll in, steal whatever they could, kind of break some stuff up, and then get out again. Milo actually admits to their memories of the event being fuzzy as well. Milo talks about another person who was part of the Nobodies, Jito, I think I'm saying that right, who is the person who set up the job and apparently knew more than she told the rest of the group. And then we get the big reveal about what's going on inside Ashton's head. Milo reveals...
You were clutching something at the time, something that you wouldn't let go of, and I had to pry it from your hands. And it was like a crystal vial about that long. And I couldn't figure out what it was, but it looked magical. It was like this kind of weird grayish liquid. Had like an odd sheen to it. And when nothing else was working, I didn't know what else to do. So I just kind of threw it in the gumbo, if you will, and poured the glass and sealed it up, and that's when you started to spark again. That's when something pulled you back.
Okay, firstly, why would you think it's a good idea to just pour a random potion into somebody's head wound? Milo! Ugh. Okay, but more importantly, this has gotta be a Dunamancy potion. It just has to be. So we got some confirmation on Four-Sided Die that Ashton does indeed have Dunamancy powers, which was a new kind of magic introduced in Campaign 2. Okay, so for those of you who are not new to this, just give me a few moments. I just want to explain to people who maybe are new to my videos and also maybe haven't seen Campaign 2. So in Campaign 2, there were these magical artifacts called beacons. These beacons were used to essentially capture souls and allow reincarnation within the Kryn dynasty. As well as that, these beacons had powers that could be used to distort time and space. The Kryn dynasty used dunamis magic, which is essentially like gravity magic and time magic, and in Campaign 2, Caleb, one of the party members, learned some of that magic from Hotboy Essek, and it's just a really cool style of magic. Now, opposing the Kryn dynasty were the Empire, and the Empire wanted to learn more about this dunamis magic and these beacons. And they had actually stolen one of these beacons and had been experimenting with it and trying to draw out the power from the beacon and distill it into a potion. This process was actually figured out by Yeza, who is Veth's husband from Campaign 2.
To contain, it seems like it's on the verge of liquid and gas. There is liquid in there, but a lot of it seems to be just kind of this heavy fog-like condensation, like a dull gray color.
I'll just grab it and throw it to Caleb.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
In these past weeks, we have successfully distilled a single vial that should enable a temporary influx of dunamis to even an untrained soldier. Once I can remove the beacon itself from the process, I hope to have this alchemist produce a number of batches over the next 12 to 16 months, refining the method with each step until we can certify its use in combat.
Oh, maybe I need to do a whole video on this. There's just so much to talk about. So this explains where Ashton gets their Dunamancy powers from. I've theorized in the past about how there is a fragment of a beacon inside Ashton's head, giving them those powers, but I think this probably puts that theory to rest. I don't want to say it's gone forever, but obviously this Dunamancy potion has mingled with whatever is going on with Ashton and given them these Dunamancy powers that sometimes come out when they're raging. So cool. Okay, so that was that big revelation. Then Imogen and FCG do a psychic deep dive.
So we're casting Detect Thoughts
At
Okay.
the same time,
Okay.
pushing as deep as we can.
and asking him questions about what happened that night. Tell us anything you remember. What was the last thing you remember?
You don't know.
No, yeah.
But you start to get flashes of memory. Little like, damn it. Coming. Shit. Just little flickers.
So we dive deep into these memories. Jito mentions that Gianna is receiving timed shipments. This corresponds with what we learned from Evon Hatroga's notes. She's receiving regular shipments of crates. Ashton remembers crowbarring open a crate and the sound of glass tinkling inside and pulling out one of these vials with this grey silver liquid inside. Then remembering that runes started to glow on the floor in what I think we can assume is a trap of some kind. And then a memory of falling from the building and this kind of like large flickering shapes and like dust motes, which is very similar to how Matt described what it was like when you looked into the beacon. A lot of us, myself included, thought that there might be brimstone in the crates, but I think this is pretty clear that there are potions of Dunamancy in these crates, that Gianna is receiving them regularly. They're being shipped. She is shipping them somewhere else. You know, is the smuggling of these potions connected to the smuggling of brimstone, or is it something completely different? What do you think? Okay, so let's talk about, I guess, a couple of theories. So we've talked a bit in the past about potentially Ashton being a consecuted soul and that somehow the consecution process went wrong, or maybe the head injury affected it. Personally, I don't agree with this theory anymore, just because the fact that Milo had fuzzy memories as well means that this is not just an Ashton thing. There's not just a memory thing happening with Ashton. I think either Jito cast Modify Memory on them, or perhaps the trap that was in the room somehow cast Modify Memory on all of them, or it could have been Gianna herself. She could have come and seen them after and done it after the break-in so that they wouldn't remember about the crates. The fact that the Empire was trying to create these potions and now 10 years later we find out that they are being created, this is a big deal. Is it the Empire that's making these potions? Is the Kryn dynasty making these potions? Extremely unlikely, because I don't think they would want to share that magic out into the wider world like that. Is somebody using Yeza's formula to make these potions, or has improved upon it somehow? We know that the Empire still has one beacon left. They found a beacon that they never told the Kryn dynasty about. So we know that they have access to a beacon. So what is Gianna doing with these potions? Where are they going? Who is sending them? I think this is sort of the beginning of uncovering a really big plot. A lot of things to think about. I really do need to set up like a red string board. It's just getting a lot. Let me know your theories in the comments. I think, you guys are so great about predicting what could happen. So let me know your thoughts. So who's sending the potions? Where are they being delivered to? And who are they being used by? Who modified Ashton's memory and Milo's? So many questions. So many questions. So to finish up, we did find out a few more things about Ashton from Four-Sided Dive. We learned that they entered the Greymore State home before they hit double digits, so I think it must be about 8 or 9, which also lines up with the time that they've said their body started to change and to become hard. We learned that Taliesin gave a proviso, like an ultimatum to Matt, saying that he wanted Ashton to have basically nothing good have ever happened to him. That is really sad, and hopefully good things are going to happen to Ashton before the end of the campaign. And Taliesin also said that theoretically they can change whatever kind of rock they're made out of. Excuse me? After this little psychic deep dive, FCG adds Ashton as a trusted companion. So this is something to do with FCG's subclass, which is a homebrew subclass. And it seems like the more he connects to other characters, the more abilities and benefits he unlocks. And Sam actually mentioned this on Four-Sided Dive, saying that he wanted FCG to be a character that would be rewarded for roleplay with the other characters, so that he would get more stuff the more roleplaying he did with the rest of the group. And the reason he wanted to do that was to get people talking about their characters and get people talking about their backstory very early on. Thank you, Sam. We appreciate it. Right at the very end of the episode, Orym contacts Dorian, much to the delight of shippers around the world, and kind of fills him in on what they're going and what they're doing. And speaking of Orym, we did get a lovely little moment from Four-Sided Dive where he talked about his tattoo.
Our other characters have strong moon things?
I mean, he's got big moon, little moon.
Yeah.
Is that just a coinky?
That's a coinky. That's just, I just thought it was romantic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do those symbolize anything?
Where are you going with this?
I don't know. What do they symbolize?
The moon?
Yeah,
Big
The
moon,
moon's
little
on his
moon.
arm?
Yeah, big moon, little moon. Is that like you and your husband?
That's what the show is for, is to catch Sam up to speed.
You were there at
Yeah.
the table
Spoon
when he was
moons.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I think that.
Yes, once upon a time, Orym and Will used to look up at the sky and be like, see them? That's us.
And so your
Big
husband
moon,
is a
little
bigger
moon.
a
He
bigger
is-
fella?
He's half elf.
He's a half elf.
I should know this.
Whew, thank you so much for sticking through me with that. There was a lot of stuff to go through this week. I normally like to spend a lot more time on your comments and theories, but there was just so much happening this week. We didn't really get a chance, but please, as always, put them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. If you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm almost at 10,000, which is amazing. So yeah, it really does help me out a lot. Thank you so much to my patrons and to my YouTube members. And an extra special thank you and welcome to my newest patrons, Matthew McCombs and Neurolancer. If you'd like to get access to my exclusive podcast, Flump Friends, where I talk about D&D and tabletop RPGs, you can do so by signing up on Patreon or becoming a member right here on YouTube. Thank you so much once again to the Gallant Goblin for sponsoring this video. And don't forget, it's your last chance to get these. Head to the link in my description for all the info. And remember, anyone can be grumpy if you work hard enough. Bye!
That's something that you could work on with like meditation or maybe some self-actualizing.
Like tantric
Therapy.
exercises.
Tantric, yeah, like prolonging that sort of
Yeah, just holding it.
Climactic.
Holding it. Holding.
for hours or days even.
Yeah. It's
You
all
can work
about
on-
mind
You know
over.
what? You need to put yourself in a situation where there needs to be a release, and you have to delay that release as long as
Right at the
possible.
edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to edge it.
So like
Yep.
the next time you want to slice my forearm to ribbons, just like
Right.
just creep along the edge of that desire for as
Yeah.
long as possible, but
That's
don't
right.
actually do it because
Toy with it, but don't get too close, because then the party's over.
Yeah. Hold on loosely.
Yeah,
but,
once you go over
but
the
don't
edge,
let go.
you gotta wait a while
Right.
before
Yeah.
it's party time again.
Advice contest here. It's really amazing.
ride that wave.
Can't tell who's winning.
Right. Maybe I should build a board.